Welcome to Digimon.
Hello and welcome to Digimon and welcome to another video. If you're liking this sort of content, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell so you're not missing out on any of the latest content. Now ordinarily I would release this video on the following Monday after Jank Tank, but like an absolute dunce, I've already filled the Monday schedule with something. So instead you're getting a little bonus video on a Saturday. 6 videos this week. Just saying, that deserves a like and subscribe. So like and subscribe and ding that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the latest content. Would really appreciate it. We've just made 600 subscribers, which is awesome, by the way. So hopefully we're on our way to 1,000 by the end of the year. Which would be pretty sick, not gonna lie. Anyways, on to the video in question. So, of course, as we do whenever we've done a Jank Tank, we will do a tier list to vote on the next format. And this is our first one where we're actually a little bit blind in this one because of the fact that BT20 has only just come out in Japan. And on top of that, it's one of the last formats that's going to be, coming out in Japan early, essentially. So we are very much going to be kind of going forward a little bit more kind of, in the unknown, really. But we're going to go in, we're going to do our votes. I'm one of the first voters. There's one person I think that's beaten me to it, who's actually been logged in the entire time. So we are going to do that. And spoilers, there will be one deck missing from this, for definite, on purpose. There may be others I've forgotten about by accident. You can let me know in the comments below, and then myself and the team can figure out between ourselves whether or not those decks will be legal. But I won't do spoilers, just in case you guys haven't watched the Jank Tank 8 finale. I mean, to be fair, we kind of spoil it with the winning profile anyway. But, feel free to watch all of the matches for that before you watch this tier list. That would be really good, especially because the algorithm does not like Jank Tank. So, would really appreciate people just going ahead and watching those. Anyways, onto the tier list. Let's go into this one. So first of all, the first deck we've got is 3 Great Angels. So I don't think it's going to be as strong going forward, with a lot of the stuff kind of, in the meta. It is a deck that can kind of be punished by things like Medieval Gallantmon, and it does have a lot of those kind of issues. It is still very strong, still one of the best yellow decks there is. So I definitely would say tier 1. I'm leaning towards either 1.5 or tier 2, but I'm going to go towards tier 1.5. 7 Demon Lords. I mean, this won the US Nats not that long ago, so we know how strong it was. It's also, technically speaking, getting some new kind of support with the new Beelzemon stuff. So obviously Beelzemon itself is a 7 Great Demon Lord, so you can use that. And then also on top of that, there's the Beelzemon Blast Mode Ace, which can just blast on top of any of your level 6s. So all of a sudden, 7 Demon Lords now has an Ace mechanic, which is pretty spooky. So, and I personally do hate going up against 7 Demon Lords. It's a really well designed deck. Do not get me wrong. It's really well designed, and it's not so broken to the point where it's unmanageable. I have beaten it before, myself, but it's also a deck which is it's very different to playing against it compared to other decks. But I think with all that being said, I am going to go with the one person who's voted so far and do 7 Demon Lords in tier 1. Ogubond, this one, I love Ogubond. I really love Ogubond, but even after the LM stuff, it's not really gotten that much more powerful. Maybe it will get more powerful with the Adventure and Hero stuff coming out in April, but that stuff seems very much within its own archetypes. So I think I'm going to make this the first of the decks so far to be Rogue tier, which does make it Jank Tank legal. Next is Alpha Mon. So this is the Chronicle version. We've got 2 different versions of Alpha Mon on this because they're the same Digimon, but they do still feel very distinct from one another. So Alpha Chronicle. Now in my testing with this, it's been dog shit. It's been absolute dog shit testing it, but that could be because I don't have some of the cards. So I don't have the BT7 searcher, for example. And could I have printed off proxies of that? Yeah, absolutely, I could have, but I was dumb and didn't. So it's kind of hard to gauge it. I think it does have a lot of very strong potential, It's got a lot of recovery, for example. When it has worked for me in testing, you know, I've managed to get up to about 7-8 security before, because of the recovery from your Alphamon and your Oryuken. And it does have some interesting mechanics and stuff like that. And you know, I think overall it's good, but it's not going to break the meta. But I wouldn't say it's rogue tier. I would probably say it's tier 2. If I was being absolutely personal with my own experience, I would be putting it in rogue tier, jank tier. For me, from my own personal speaking, testing wise. But I think overall, for people that know how to play it, because I don't really know how to play it, I'll be honest. You know, because I've not had a real chance to properly, you know, work with it. Yeah, so I'm gonna say tier 2, I think. Or do we dare to dream? Nah, screw it. I'm gonna go rogue tier on it. Screw it. I've done it. It's rogue tier. Because it's been dog shit for me. So therefore, it's rogue tier. Is that bias? Yes, but that's why we've got the average rating system. So if something gets an average rating, it could potentially be up or down, you know, depending on where people have voted it. But yeah. Next is Alphamon Classic, which is, as I mentioned, both of them are on here. Now, someone's put this in jank tier. I am probably inclined to put it more in rogue, just because of the fact that it does still have a lot of potency, at least from this kind of tier's perspective. You know, there's a lot of really kind of good protection effects and stuff like that. It's definitely an argument for it to be jank tier now. But, you know, saying that, you can still technically use your Chronicle stuff, and you know, you can still technically use this. You just don't have it as like a, you know, a Chronicle engine. So you could potentially still use Oryuken in this deck. You know, so if we're going verbatim, just the old cards and the, you know, then, you know, like everything is the old cards, then probably I'd put it in the more of the jank tier. But if you're mixing at least this in your top end, and using the rest of the, like the classic engine, that'd probably just put it in rogue tier. And then another thing with this one, just whilst I've got it in my brain, is this one really suffers in the level 4 line, because you're having to use your Chronicles, and there's only 8 of all of your Chronicles, and there's no way of cheating things out, unlike another deck that we'll get to later. Right, next is going to be Ancient Garurumon. Now this lost a lot of steam during the last ban list, when Hammerspark got hit to 1, when Ukomon got hit to 1, and Louis. So it definitely doesn't have a tier 1 status. It's still pretty good though, so I'm going to still put it in tier 1.5. Angora Tribal, Diabitmon. You might be wondering why I've not named it Diabitmon when most people name it Diabitmon. That's just because we call Gamamon Gamamon and we call Jellymon Jellymon. They're the rookies, so why not call this the Angora deck? Anyways, this one I think can be better than people think it is, but I'm still leaning towards rogue or jank, because it's not really as... Oh, sorry about the jump cut there. Keen-eyed viewers will notice that the light has suddenly changed. That's because my ring light has kind of broken. Like, it's been fraying, and it's now this should be connected to this, and it's now broken. So I'll be getting that replaced. Sorry, dropping cables everywhere as well. So I've gone to lamp. Lamp is here, so that we've got a nice warm yellow light instead. I don't know if it'll look okay on camera. I haven't had a chance to test. In fact, we've been rolling this entire time. Uber professional, as always. Back to our vote for Angora. Because I'm feeling that my ring light was janky, I'm going to put Angora in jank. Screw it. Why not? It's had no support. It's not really that good. It's a jank. Argomon. This, when it gets rolling, it actually can be really scary. But I'm going to put it in janks here still, because it's just, you know, it has too many things going wrong for it. Bagra, even with the new kind of Nene stuff, which, even saying that, I don't even know really if that helps it. It's jank. Barbamon X, so the Devimon stuff goes in this, the Fallen Angel stuff. You know where it's going. It's janked here. It's crap. It's awful. Beelstar Loop. Now, this has not had any tops in a long time, because its engine kind of got mashed way back when Garurumon X and Gabumon X were hit. But I would still be inclined to agree to put this in tier 2. Just because any sort of loop deck has problems. So we're gonna do that. Beelzemon. Now, this is an interesting one. Last tier list, I would have said this was tier 2, but with the new Beelzemon stuff, you've got an Impmon that just plays any purple tamer, which definitely won't be a problem. Purple hybrid looking at you. And then it's got the new Ace and stuff like that. So the engine is still always been good. It still gains memory for days. So yeah, I'm going to say tier 1.5. Imperial, blue-green Imperial. This one I think is going to hit off a little bit. And obviously you'll notice it's got the band sign on it. That's because it's our band Champion of Champions from last year. So it will never come back to Jank Tank again, regardless of if it ever got voted into Jank Tier or Rogue Tier. But this one, I think I'm going to... I don't think I want to put it in tier 1. I don't think it's going to be as good in the next format. I could be wrong, because it's always been really good since BT16, and it's not really showed any signs of slowing down. It's not like it's gotten worse. The only thing that stops it really is bricking, and as I've gone on record to say multiple times, I don't think bricking is a good balancing point for a deck, because every deck can brick. So just because a tier 1 deck bricks makes it not a tier 1 deck is a stupid argument. So therefore, I think I am still going to put it tier 1. Birds. I love birds. I voted it tier 2 last time, but I freaking love it. It's so fun. No new support with it. The tier 1.5 is interesting. It still does put in work. It has a lot of looping shenanigans. I mean, the other day I was at the locals at TTR, and I managed to loop the BT13 Biomon effect 3 times in one turn, which was really funny. Just managed to warp, rush, warp, rush, warp, rush, because I'd keep playing out my Christie so I could keep doing the warp. So it's just really funny, and it confuses people to all hell. So do you know what? I'm going to go with the crowd, the one person so far, and put the 1 vote on there. Usually I would wait a little bit longer to get a few more voters on this, because A, it makes the tier list look less sad, and B, I like to see the more varied opinions. But I do not have time. This video is going up on Saturday. It's Thursday night, and I've got Valentine's Day, my wife's birthday coming up as well. You know, and so it's, and then we're going on holiday. So we've got pack 2. So lots of stuff going on. Black Hybrid, interesting. This one was in Rogue Tier last time, I think. I think I'm still going to put it there, just because I don't think it's really got anything new to add to it. Obviously, if you've got the Mother Control stuff in it, then it could be really good, but then you're looking more at Mother Control rather than just pure Black Hybrid. So I'm going to go Rogue Tier. Blackwall Greymon OTK, one of my favourite of the Greymon decks. I am going to agree and put it in Rogue Tier. If it gets its OTK off, it is fantastic. But other than that, you know. Now, here's a contentious point. The Blackwall Greymon stuff. So back in BT11, this was the deck. It was so good. But we are now almost 10 sets since BT11. And Greymon has not performed in an age. So as much as I am a Greymon stan and it hurts me, down we go. Yeah, down we go. I'm putting it in Rogue Tier 2. And that makes me really sad. To put it there, it might not stay there, to be fair. Because we'll have to see whatever all the other voters want to do. Yeah. Down it goes. Anyways, the Bloom Lord stuff. So I would probably agree with tier 2. I think it's too strong for the Rogue Tier, Jank Tier stuff. Still, obviously Bloom Lord has had even less support. I mean, well, kind of, than the Greymon stuff. I mean, you've had a lot of generic plant stuff, I suppose, and stuff like that. But I think I'm still going to put it in tier 2. Blue Armor, yeah, we're still putting it tier 1. It's still fantastic. I'm not even going to say anything else on that. Blue Flare, and now I have put the preface of BT20 on this. And that reminds me, anyone who votes on this, please assume that everything is up to date for BT20. Don't just look at an old card image and go, oh, it's the old version of the deck. No. I've just used old card images because I have those ones. But this is Blue Flare as it is in BT20. I think it could be a lot better than we think. Because Blue Flare was always really good back in older formats. Like it was basically just fantastic all the way up until like maybe BT14. you know, from BT10 to BT14. So I think with new support, it could still be really good. Do I want to put... I don't think I'm brave enough to put it in tier 1.5 though, so I think I am going to go tier 2. D Brigade / Digi Police. So this is something we did from compared to last time. We've condensed some of them down. So this is, you know, your Brigademon stuff. This is your Oriumon stuff. It's all of that stuff really. So I think it's going to be very scary in the rogue tier, jank tier stuff, but also it does suffer to anything sort of wide removal. So I'm going to agree with this person and go rogue tier. I am just mainly agreeing with this person so far. But you know, this is just what I think. Bunnies. This time I'm not going to agree here. I think Bunnies is still better than it was. It suffers from the fact that it came out in the same set as Magnamon X, which that's in my head because I watched a video of someone saying that the other day. Who said that? It was one of the other content creators. I can't remember who. Someone said it, and I was watching their video. And that, you know, Bunnies suffers from the fact that it came out at the same time as Magnamon X. It might have been Panda. I can't remember. But I agree with that take, and I still think Bunnies is better than I think it's given current credit for. Yes, it's not topping at all, really, but it could do, I think, in a world. So I'm not going to agree with it going rogue tier, but I'm not going to put it in tier 1 or tier 1.5. I'm going to put it into tier 2, which could potentially still put it into rogue tier, potentially. But Sendril, so this is the puppet stuff. Again, people are putting this in jank tier. People are saying this is worse than they think it is. Saying that, with Medieval Gallantmon now out, this deck does suffer quite a bit in any matchup where Medieval Gallantmon's involved, because I play stuff by effect. Oh no, they die now. So it's actually kind of loses its recursion abilities against stuff like Medieval Gallantmon. So I'm going to change my tune from last time. I'm not going to put it in tier 2. I am going to put it into rogue tier and make it a jank. Well, at the moment, jank tank legal. You know, obviously this is not the final vote. Chaos Gallant. So people putting this in jank tier. Technically speaking, you could play the stuff from EX8 in this to give it a boost, as we kind of discussed last time. So I think I'm going to put it in rogue tier, not jank tier. So still going for that kind of legal kind of aspect, but not that. And this is the other deck when I mentioned Chronicle. Chaos 1 Axel. This is really funny. We've actually got a profile coming out for this next week. And something I'll talk about now, just because, is the build I made doesn't use any white tamers, and I really think maybe I should, just because it then allows you to use your Singularity of Chaos whilst those are out. So in that video, I'm currently using TK, and I give a good argument for why I use TK, but I am thinking maybe I need to switch gears to like white tamers, like Analog Youth and I want to say it's Sam the Clown from Liberator. It might not be that name, I can't remember, but this deck I think is a lot better than I think people are going to give credit for. It could be something that could be rogue tier or jank tier because of its consistency issues, but Singularity of Chaos on its own as a card makes this deck so much better because of the fact that it just cheats out your on plays. You know, instead of digivolving in the normal way, just Singularity Chaos for 2. Play out your rookies and your champions for free. Play out your level 5s for 1 or 2. Play out your level 6s for 3 cost, because they also then reduce themselves with their own effects. Like, it's just really... I think it's kind of going to be slept on. I know I watched East's breakdown of the first week of BT20 meta in Japan, and... It has got a topping result already. Only one, but that's still pretty impressive given a lot of the other stuff in the meta. So as much as I would love to play this in Jank Tank, I'm going to put it in tier 2. And that's where I'm thinking. Cherubi Tribal. So it's interesting because I think this as a deck is squarely rogue tier, but possibly using Cherubimon Ace as the card image maybe sways people, but I am going to put this in rogue tier because this is kind of your Cherubimon X stuff, because Cherubi Tribal is basically your Sousa stuff, your Lopmon stuff, your Cherubimon X, all of that stuff. Technically, yes, you could put Medieval Gallantmon in it, and not in the normal card game, that would definitely make it probably more tier 2, just by that inclusion. But in our format for Jank Tank, that's not legal, because Medieval Gallantmon isn't legal, which, actually, that's a good point. I voted Central into Rogue tier, and actually for our specific format, Medieval Gallantmon's not even going to be around at all. It's the weird thing about this tier list. It's kind of like an actual tier list for the game, and then also like a tier list specifically for Jank Tank. So it's kind of weird in that respect. No, I'm still going to put it Rogue tier, I think. I'm still going to go Rogue tier. Chessmon, I'm going to say Rogue tier. Really good engine, but it's still going to be there. D-Lynx has been consistently Jank Tank legal since we started Jank Tank, and I personally think it should stay there. It has got some strong effects. It can really get going. It had a great showing in Jank Tank 8, though I won't spoil how. So that was really cool. But I think I'm going to go Rogue tier still. Dexdoru. So this one I didn't put brackets on it to say BT20, and I probably should have, just in case, but this will obviously include all the BT20 supports, the new Death Xmon. I think it's no longer, it was topping a little while ago, I remember, for kind of BT16, 17 format. But I wouldn't put it in up here. I think it's going to be tier 2. Diaboromon, tier 1.5. Now that's interesting. I don't think I would rank Diaboromon that highly. I wouldn't put it in Rogue tier or Jank tier anymore. Obviously, it is a previous Jank Tank champion. It won Jank Tank 4. But that was before the support in EX6 and BT17. So I don't think tier 1.5, even in this meta with kind of all of the Digivolving stuff that it can do, and where aces are prevalent, I think it's probably still going to be in tier 2 for me. Dynamon, now this just about scraped it into Jank tier last time, and I didn't agree with that then. I don't think there is video evidence, obviously, so if you go back and I did agree with it being in Rogue tier, do let me know, because I don't want to be contradictory. I don't think I agreed with that, though. I probably should have watched that video before I did this, to be fair. But I would probably still say tier 2, especially because we're getting the new Rust Tyrannomon. So I would say that's going to be there. Next is Dark Masters. So a lot of milling potential. You still only got a Pokemon to 1. Does a lot of Omnizoo type stuff. And Megazoo type stuff. There's a lot of milling in this game. And also, I mean, bearing in mind for Jank Tank specifically, you can't use the purple hybrid engine for this. Obviously, generally in the game, you can. I'm going to put it in Rogue tier. Yeah, Rogue tier for me. Dorbic OTK, they reckon tier 2. I reckon... I would say that it's kind of got some new support, I think. There's new... Because you could put the new Examon stuff underneath it, I think. Yeah, because that's all dragon stuff, isn't it? Ooh, that's an interesting thought, isn't it? I think I'm still going to say Rogue tier. Yeah. Deep Savers, tier 1.5. Okay, interesting. So Deep Savers for me is interesting because, like, its effects are really powerful, but I think it suffers a little bit from consistency issues, because of the fact of it's kind of, unlike with NSP and with Nightmare Soldiers, which they have a lot of colours which can be used with dual boosts. So for Nature Spirits, for example, you've got the Jade Memory boost, so blue and green. For Nightmare Soldiers, you've got purple and yellow. Deep Savers doesn't really have that. You kind of have to go all in with blue, but then that means that some of your Digimon are not Deep Savers, and you can't, some of your effects won't affect them. I'm going to say tier 2 for it, personally. Dynasmon, so the Rogue tier vote for it. I know I had a really good conversation with, I forget your name, it begins with an R, really sorry. But where this was stronger than most people think, and I agree with that. I do wonder about it in this current meta. I'd said tier 2 last time. It hasn't really changed, has it? But I'd say it's kind of equilateral with Sendril. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in rogue tier. Screw it. Screw it. I'm really sorry to that one to that one person. I know we had a really good chat about that, but I'm gonna put it in rogue tier. It might not stay there. We don't know. You know. So yeah. So Emperor Hybrid. So. This isn't Red Hybrid, of course. This is more like the BT18 stuff as it's intended with all the different dual colours. I don't think tier 1.5. I think tier 2. Tier 2. Eosmon. I agree with this take here. I think it is rogue tier. I think it's, you know, obviously once it gets going, it absolutely goes ham. But for the time being, I think rogue tier. The new Examon stuff. Now, this is interesting because Examon itself has all of the keywords. It's got 4 just because. They obviously have a lot of bouncing potential, a lot of piercing, a lot of unsuspend shenanigans. Yeah, I'm thinking tier 2. Yeah, we'll go tier 2. Fenrir OTK, this is still bonkers. It's got the new Seeker stuff as well. Tier 1, absolutely. Ryugu, so this is going to think it does do some interesting stuff. The decode stuff is really good, at least, you know, for what its game plan is, but not necessarily in terms of how effective it is. So I would agree with this take and go rogue tier. Sorry, I'm basically just agreeing with this one person. Fortitude Tribal, this person's put it in rogue tier. I'm going to put it in jank tier because it's just you ideally you want everything to have fortitude, but there's a rookie that's got Fortitude and one level 4 that's got Fortitude. So you don't have a lot of options for your level 3 and level 4 line. I am actually experimenting with Fortitude if it's legal for Jank Tank to play it. So you might see me playing that come next Jank Tank. But I'm going to put it in Jank tier personally for me. It's just not very consistent. 4 Great Dragons. This also falls into that last category of kind of consistency issues. Technically gets new support with that new Magnadramon. And that, I think, this deck actually, funny enough, can use Magnadramon, the Magnadramon, I think, better than Nature Spirits can, because of the on-play. So, there's potential with it, but I think it's a jank deck. 4 Sovereigns, still got an incredibly powerful boss monster, still has too many ace shenanigans, still tier 2. Gabibond, Gabibond is interesting to me because, like, it doesn't have a lot of synergy with the original game plan with it. Because of the fact it bounces stuff with less sources than you, unless you're doing a lot of source stripping stuff, which you can, and it's quite interesting to put it in source stripping decks. It doesn't do a lot in its kind of intended deck, in the Gabimon deck. Because if you're warping into this and you're like, I'm going to bounce something with less sources than me, but you've only got a Gabimon and an egg underneath you then can't bounce very much with it. So I think I'm going to put it in the same vein as Ogrebon and put it in rogue tier. Gaiomon OTK, I love this deck. It's really funny. I've not played it in a while, but in the same vein as Blackwall Greymon OTK, it's going rogue tier. Galactic is getting some new support at some point. It has done some work, I think, somewhere. I'm going to put tier 2, personally. Galaxy Loop. So this person's put it in rogue tier. With the intended kind of Galaxy Loop deck, where you're kind of playing it with Mirage. No, not the intended one. Sorry, with the kind of the Mirage, Medieval Galapmons, all that sort of stuff. It's like a tier 1 deck, without shadow of a doubt for me. In terms of the intended deck, it's lower down the line. So I think I'm going to put it in tier 2 personally. Galapmon. So it's going to have the new ace. It's going to have that. It has been putting on it in a lot of work. I'm going to say tier 1 actually. I'm going to put tier 1. I think it's doing really well. Gamamon. I will put this. I think I will put this in jank tier 2. Who's heard of Gamamon recently, man? Green Gacha. Yeah, jank. Off it goes. Off you go. There you go. There you go. Took a little while. Grey Knights also jank. Even with the new blue flare stuff. Off you go. That's bad. Greymon Toolbox. If Blackwall Greymon is in rogue tier for me, this is as well, which is a real shame because I love Greymon, but well, maybe I'll play it. Maybe I'll play it. if it stays legal. When's the last time Greymon topped at all? It's a real shame. But we're getting new Greymon stuff. It's just not the most Greymon stuff. But EX10, no. I'm waiting on EX10. I'm very excited for that. Right, Heavy Metal Dramon. Definitely better than it was with the new support. Still, I think not great. I think I voted it Jank tier last time. I'm putting it in Rogue tier this time. Hunters can put work in against certain matchups. I remember getting absolutely shat on a couple of formats ago when playing Mirage against Hunters. But I think I'll put it in Rogue tier. The only thing to mention for Jank Tank specifically, we don't play Quartzmon. Quartzmon is a banned card in our format. So you're not going to be playing that, unfortunately. But, you know, it is whatever. Ice Snoo is next. So they reckon tier 2. I am inclined to agree. It's better than I think people think it is. And definitely better than I thought it was back when we did the EX8 tier list. So I think I'm probably going to agree with this and go tier 2 as well. Maybe. I mean, it does a lot of hybrid shenanigans, does a lot of unsuspending shenanigans as well. Yeah, I'm going to say tier 2. It's got too many ways of winning. Jellymon, I've put the other 2 in Jank tier. Off you go. There you go. Jessmon. Now, this does get some new tricks, none of which are involving this old Jessmon. I think definitely got to be over in the 1.5 tier 2 category. I'm actually going to be brave and say tier 1.5. It probably won't be in tier 1.5 really in terms of the grand scheme of the game, but that's where I'm feeling it. Jumbo is very janky. You can play it with a black base, you can play it with a blue base. I personally prefer it with a black base. I use it with the Armadillo engine, for example. I am going to put it in Jank tier. Justymon. Now this is quite funny because Alex has pulled like 5 copies of this card and he's been trying to get rid of the Justymons. And we're all joking about the fact he's destined to play it at some point. So for the interest of him playing it in this, although Dane might as well actually, I'm gonna put it in right here. Kentorusmon, Mitamamon, really annoying deck to play around. It's another deck that I'm potentially thinking of playing in Jank Tank actually, because I reckon it will be one that's going to be legal. It was legal last time in EX8, it had no changes, so yeah, I'm going to put it in Rogue tier. Legend Arms, very strong once it gets to its top line. It does a lot of stuff, but it's got to get there. It's got a lot of climbing to do. I'll agree with put that in Rogue tier. Leomon. Leomon is interesting. I mean, technically speaking, you could use the new Bancho Leomon in it. I don't know if you would. I mean, to be fair, its DNA effect is generic, so you could go into something else with it. I don't think I'm going to put it in Jank tier, but I'm still going to say it's a Rogue tier deck, so kind of Jank Tank legal. Leopardmon X, now it won't be able to do this trick in Jank Tank specifically, but Leopardmon X can actually play Medieval Gallantmon completely for free, so long as you've got stuff to suspend with the Medieval's effect. So I think because of that, it's a lot better than people think, but I'm going to put it in Rogue tier. Leviamon, we saw how good this was. I put it in tier 1.5 last time. I'm putting it in tier 1 this time. It's still wrecking house. Lilith X. Now, I went up against this in Jank Tank 8 because we had a late entry. I don't think that's tier 1.5. I completely disagree with this person. I wouldn't say it's tier... I'm leaning towards either tier 2 or Rogue tier, personally speaking. I think it can do a lot once the ball gets rolling on it, though. I'm going to say tier 2. Lord Knight Black Base. So the Black Base stuff, so this is kind of with the Dark Knight stuff. I actually don't think Lord Knight is tier 1. I think it underperformed since it came out, whether you're looking at the purple base version or the black base version. So I'm going to put both of them, because I know they're back-to-back, in tier 1.5. Lucamon, so this is the Lucamon kind of control stuff. I think that's going to be too strong for any of the Jank Tank stuff. It's not strong enough to be called anything near tier 1, so I think tier 2. Machine Dramon, obviously gets kind of generic cyborg support wherever it goes. I think I'm going to keep it in Rogue tier, though, because I think it's always been like good, and it can be really good depending on the matchups, but Rogue tier. Magna Hybrid. So this one, I think in the same vein as Emperor Greymon, it's kind of like it's almost like a tier 2.5 for me. So I wouldn't put it in rogue tier, but I think I'm going to put it in tier 2. Mamemon, yeah, jank tier. Off you go. Marsmon, rogue tier. Do I agree with rogue tier? Probably not. I did hear of there was someone who had a really interesting idea for a Marsmon deck the other day. I think it was they commented on the Marsmon profile I did after Jank Tank the Champions, and it was kind of using the green red hybrid stuff. So from like Kazemon, I think it is, and all that sort of stuff. Is it Kazemon? I can't remember. That's a really interesting idea, and I'd love to try that out actually. But I don't think it's rogue tier. I'm going to put jank tier, unfortunately. Mastemon, too many consistency issues, too many pieces to find. Rogue tier though, because when you do find them, it's quite strong. Melga. Now I put all of the Greymon stuff into rogue tier so far. There has been basically no tops for Melga, but I feel like, oh man, I don't know, man. I would genuinely put Melga on a similar playing field to the Greymon stuff. So actually, I'm going to be a little bit controversial here. I'm going to put Melga in rogue tier. I don't know if it'll become Jank Tank legal, but that's what I'm feeling. That's what we're going to do. Mervaloop, I will not say tier 1.5. I will say tier 2 for that, because any loop deck, like I say, kind of an issue. Millennium Mon. Now this one is quite a bit stronger than you'd think. It did actually become Jank Tank legal last time, and it's had no new support. It can really do well in certain kind of matchups as well. I think I'm gonna go rogue tier still. I'm gonna live dangerously. Milif, this could do a lot of again, just really annoying looping shenanigans. So I think I'm gonna put tier 2. Most loop decks, I think I'm gonna put in that kind of category. Minerals. So this deck is quite a bit stronger than I think it is, based on what I've seen in terms of its general performance. Once it gets going, it can just completely eradicate you in a single turn. So I'm leaning towards either tier 2 or rogue tier. I think I'm going to go tier 2 though. Mirage, it's not as good as it used to be. It's definitely not any of these though. So it's either tier 1 or tier 1.5. I think tier 1.5 though, just because of the fact it is starting to slow down. It's starting to show signs of its age. So I think tier 1.5. Mother Control, really annoying to deal with. Does do great against kind of the larger blocking decks, but it also doesn't really top that much. But also it's got Setcon stuff. So I'm leaning towards tier 1.5, tier 2. Again, I'm going to live dangerously. I'm going to go tier 2 actually on that. Myotismon. Now this one does have a lot of deletion shenanigans. Has a lot of recursion. A lot of really good stuff there. It's not really changed at all since it came out, but obviously in normal Digimon formats, I think it suffers in the medieval Gallantmon kind of matchups. Any deck that plays a medieval Gallantmon will just absolutely give Myotismon a bad day. But I think I'm actually going to put it in rogue tier. Yeah. Necromon. Now this is interesting because we've not really seen anything from it. I think looking at the cards for it, it doesn't look as potent as I think you would want it to be. It does look really cool and really interesting. Necromon is a sick design. He looks like a Dark Souls boss. He's so cool. But yeah, rogue tip. I reckon that'll be legal. Nightmare Soldiers. Rogue tier on that one. Nature Spirits, similar vein to Nightmare Soldiers. I will put that in. Numamon. Tier 2. Omnimon. Okay, Omnimon is interesting because technically we've got new support in the new Omnimon X. And I think it can really put in work. I don't think it'll be tier 1 though. I mean, it'll either be... It's either tier 1 or tier 1.5. I don't think it's tier 1 though. I think it's 1.5. Alter S, similar kind of vein, obviously. I'm actually going to put it in tier 2. Interesting take. I'm thinking of a rogue tier or jank tier, honestly. Because the engine takes a lot of work. because like this is more like classic Omnimon Alter S rather than just slapping it in an Omnimon engine. I think because it's so slow, I got a bit in Jank tier, Pulsemon OTK. Right, now, this person's put it in Rogue tier. This deck is the deck which I drew against Imperigamon, blue-green Imperigamon, at a, I think it was, what was it? An Evo Cup? I think. Yeah, we kind of had the same, it was me and Charles, we kind of had the same results. Technically he won because he went against higher, ranked opponents or some BS, but I think Pulsemon is slept on personally, and I think with the new cards you're potentially looking at kind of tier 2, I think for it. So that's what my gut is saying. If it ended up in Rogue tier, and then I will play it definitely, but I think I'll go tier 2. Pulsemon Tribal. So this one is kind of more of the classic Pulsemon stuff. I think that one is definitely more of an argument for Rogue tier. I will say, yeah, I'll go Rogue tier on that. I'm not saying that, the new stuff though. Too late. You can't get any backseats once you've voted. So actually, with the new stuff, I'd probably say tier 2, not Rogue tier. So I've kind of done a bit of an impulse click. But oh well. Purple Hybrid, yeah, fuck off. Tier 1, go away. Ravemon, you're shit. Jank tier. Reaper Tribal. Okay, so this technically gets new support in BT20, I think, because it gets its like the bad Jerry stuff. And I mean, technically you can play Shoto in it. But it wouldn't be Mother Control at that point. It's more like Reapermon. And obviously we've got Reaper Tribal to try and say, hey, this is Reaper, not Shoto. So I'll say Rogue tier. Red Hybrid, off you fuck, tier 1. Rosemon. Ooh, so far the other voters done Jank tier. That's interesting. Okay, I'm gonna say Rogue tier because it's kind of similar to Bloom Lord, but not as good. Royal Base, yeah, Royal Base is shit, isn't it? Royal Base is kind of like it just doesn't. It suffers from too little rookies again. There's too many decks that suffer from too little rookies, and we've put a lot of those decks that suffer from too many rookies into these kind of lower tiers. So yeah, I kind of agree. Jank tier. Royal Knights, yeah, Royal Knights. Royal Knights is the true Royal deck, baby. It's back in absolute fashion. I saw East's video, as I mentioned earlier today, with the kind of the Japanese results, and the one with the most was Royal Knights and Red Purple Imperigamon. And Royal Knights, yeah, it's so good. I mean, you've just got so many big bodies in it. It's so much quicker now. I think in terms of finding its new stuff. We're going to be bringing out a profile for that actually, because Dan's been working on a list for me. I don't know who just voted it in Rogue tier, but they need to fuck off. Tier 1. RP Imperialdramon. The new BT20 stuff is definitely going to be an either tier 1, tier 1.5. I'm going to say tier 1 based on what I've seen so far, because it's just super quick. Sakuyamon Tribal. One person's put it in 1.5, one person's in Jank tier. See, if you're putting it in 1.5, you're going to misconstrue it with Talmon Loop. I've differentiated those on this tier list. They are two different things. So I'm going to put it in Rogue tier, not either of those. Seadramon Tribal. I think it could be better than people think it is. It could be in the same vein as Dinomon. I'm going to put it in Rogue tier. Setcon. Someone's put it in tier 1. That's hilarious. I mean, to be fair, it's technically Mother Control, isn't it? What did they put Mother Control? Tier 2? Yeah, I'm going to say same thing. Tier 2. Seekers. So this is an interesting one because it's kind of the classic kind of the new kind of Seekers engine rather than the classic kind of Fenrir OTK stuff. And technically, it's not as potent as the Fenrir OTK stuff, but it's an interesting deck essentially. At least this one has the advantage of being able to use SOC or Aberdeen Electronics and all the like. Kind of hard to say where this is. I mean, I think the Seeker stuff is just in general kind of tech cards for Pulsemon and for Fenrir, really, not really even its own deck. But I wanted to include it. But so I'm gonna go tier 2. Shakamon. I will say rogue tier for this because it does a lot of really cool stuff with the security minus stuff. But it takes a lot of work to do that. Shakuamon. Who the put this in tier 1? Who put that in tier 1? I mean, I get you could use it as a tech card and stuff, but geez, I wouldn't put it in tier 1. I would say either tier 2 or rogue tier. For this, I mean, I use it as an engine in Jumbo, as I mentioned. Let's go. I'm going to smack bang in the middle of these two. I'm going to go tier 2. Screw it. Shine Greymon. Who the hell put Shine Greymon in Jank tier? No. No, sir. You've clearly never been Marcus punched. Tier 2. Sylphimon. Yeah. I'm going to be a little bit more positive and put it in rogue tier, actually. Skull Hybrid. Now, obviously, I won't be able to play Skull Hybrid in the way I played it in Jank Tank 6. And I think people have put this in rogue tier fairly kind of well. I'm going to go for the same result because I've realised I can technically still play Skull Hybrid as long as I'm not playing the red hybrid engine. In Jank Tank specifically. Obviously, if I wasn't, I'd be tier 2 probably, but I'm going to put it in rogue tier. Source Strip. So some people 1.5, some people rogue tier. I think I'm in the middle. I'll put it in tier 2. Sukamons, the Etamon stuff. Someone put it in tier 1.5. Why? Why is that in 1.5? I wouldn't say that's 1.5. I'm going to go rogue tier for that. Talmon Loop. There it is. Now, Talmon Loop, I could see an argument for it being either tier 1 or tier 1.5. I'm going to lean towards tier 1.5, and I'll tell you why. It's because specifically for us as non-Asian players, we play a best of 3 format, not a best of 1. In a best of 1, Talmon is much better because you don't have to worry about being consistent up to 3 times. In a best of 3 format, though, you've got to be consistent 3 times. 2 to 3 times. So I think tier 1.5 for that reason specifically. 3 Musketeers. Oh, rogue tier and Jank tier so far from the now 2 voters we've had. I don't want to. It's technically got new support for the Avenger Kidmon. Let's live dangerously. Go rogue tier. Titamon. Who the hell put this in tier 1.5? I feel like this is one of the guys voting some stuff jankily. Who is it? Dan? Would Dan have voted Shine Greymon as a Jank tier? Because he's a massive Shine Grey stan. I might have to ask him if he did that. Daniel. Titamon uses Dark Animal Engine, all that sort of stuff. But personally, I'm going to put it in Jank tier. I like trains. Someone's put it in tier 1! Why? Come on! You're trolling me. You're trolling me at this point. Jank tier. Absolutely Jank tier. Whoever put it in tier 1, fuck off. Tyrant. Tier 1? Nah, tier 2. Come on, man. Old Force. Tier 2 or rogue tier. I'm going to say rogue tier. Sorry, I know I'm kind of not talking about these decks too much at the moment. It's just because I'm knackered. I was actually in the hospital last night, funnily enough. I'm okay. Just so you know, but I'm okay. But I was in the hospital last night. Vortex Warriors. Tier 2. Tier 2. I wouldn't put it in rogue tier. Tier 2. Wargrey OTK. Most people put this in tier 2. I would be tempted to put it in rogue tier with the other Greymon stuff, personally. But on the interest of everyone in the team being like, Josh has voted all the Greymon stuff into rogue tier. You can't do that. Those are his decks, mate. I'll put it into tier 2. So at least one of the Greymon things that I voted for is in tier 2. They won't be happy still, but at least I'm happy. Anyways, Zhang Peng. Who the fuck put this into... Who is this person? No. I mean, technically, with the Deep Saber stuff. But you could say make the same argument for Ryugu at that point. cross. So this is the new cross stuff. People reckon tier 2. Really? I would have thought better than that. I'll go with the crowd. Why not? Yellow armor obviously lost a lot of consistency. I would be tempted to put tier 2. I mean, where have we seen yellow armor recently? But obviously it's got some really strong components as well. I'm going to put tier 2. Fuck it. Yellow hybrid. Again, this is interesting. People voted this in Jank Tier and EXA. I don't think it's a Jank Tier deck, personally. Yeah, Jet Sylphie is still to 1, but you do have other yellow hybrid options now. You've got the Koji stuff, for example. So I'm going to say Rogue Tier. Yellow Lord Knight. One person's put it in Tier 1.5. I guess because it's got Lord Knight in the name. One person's put it in Jank Tier. I'm going to say Rogue Tier. Go right in the middle. And that is all of them. Okay, so that is all of the decks. Let's have a look at the total results so far on the average rating. So that's what we're looking at the moment. Obviously, we've only had 3 voters thus far, including myself. But that's your Tier 1. 7DL, BG Imperial, RP Imperial, Fenrir, Lord Knight, all in Tier 1 at the moment. Based on those average votes. Tier 1.5, BLs, Blue Armor, Levia, Purple Hybrid, Talmon Loop, 3 Great Angels, Gallantmon Tribal, Lilith X, Royal Knights, Chaos One, Axel. Who put this in Tier 1? Someone is colluding against me. Dextoro, Tier 1 again! Who the... Right, I'm going to be checking the messenger chat in a bit to see if any of the guys have voted. Tier 1 on Mineral? Really? Tier 1 on Setcon? Tier 1 on Tyrant? That's weird. That's very strange. Okay. There's your Rogue Tier. I won't read all of them out because there's quite numerous. 31%. Oh, no, that's Tier 2 of that. But, yeah, they put Gaiamon OTK in Tier 1. Who the fuck has put that in Tier 1? This is an argument for using most votes, just saying. We do go off of average rating normally, but if people are going to start doing this sort of shit, I am going to make sure that it's most votes. So let me know in the comments below if you think we should use the most votes or the average rating to stop people doing shit like this. Anyways, that's all from me. There's your Rogue Tier before we go. There's our Jank Tier. So at the moment, Jank Tier is tiny. Jank Tier is tiny. Jeez. Okay, I'm gonna before we close off, let's look at the most votes. So tier 1 has suddenly got all of this in here because it's got a bunch of decks. Like, that's not Tier 1. That's not Tier 1. That's not Tier 1. That's not Tier 1. Who the fuck is doing this? You stupid asshole. I don't know who you are, but if I find out who you are, me and you are going to have a talking to, mate. Anyways, yeah, so that's really interesting. There's your Rogue Tier, there's your Jank Tier on the most votes. So yeah, just let me know if you guys want us to go off the most votes or the average rating. Obviously this is early days. This is only 3 voters thus far. Everything on here could change drastically. So let's see what it is by next week. The voting poll is open until Thursday next week. So we've got plenty of time to vote on it. And I hope you guys enjoy it. But until we see you on the next video, I hope you guys have a good time. Have a good time voting on this as well. Make sure you're logged in. Otherwise your vote won't count. And we'll see you again. But until then, keep it digital.